Do you want a quick overview of the Growing Together live stream? Hello, my name is Jennifer and welcome to a news video, and I will also go over what I thought about it. And if you do want more details, I have a blog post where I put a lot of information that was in the stream, which there was a lot since it was a long stream, and I really do think they did a good job of showing a lot of stuff, even though there are a few things that they missed. But my blog post also includes some things that was shared in tweets afterwards, and I will link it down below. So the first thing they sort of talked about was what the high level goal of the pack was, and that was to give the player the opportunity to celebrate a full lifetime and memorable milestones with every sim. So one of their first goals to do that was to make sure that family mattered, and that interacting with family members would feel different than interacting with random sims in the game, and that was regardless of if they lived together or not. And then the second was to make sure that all relationships across the game were going to matter, that they'd be deeper, and so that interacting with sims, no two sims would be the same. And then they wanted to add some drama of life, which they did indeed do, as was shown in the stream. But it was done in a couple of ways. First, you can set it through various mechanisms, or it can be triggered in the game. But if it is in the game, you as the player had control to say yes or no to the story prompts. I will have already started showing the Create a Sim behind so that you can see everything. But what they did say about the Create a Sim was that the pack included clothing and accessories for all ages, from infant through elder. And the pack style that they went for was urban casual, everyday wear, and vintage. So they had included some clothing that can be coordinated across the ages. So they were similar patterns, but not the same. And one of the things that was new was they have a headscarf that's separate from the hair, which they have never done before. So you can actually pick the headscarf separate from the hair color, which yay for that. And they showed that on their Elder Sim. And then they also collaborated with a professional hairstylist to help improve their hair catalog, and they tried to improve their baby hairs. And I know that indeed there's a hairstyle there that I have an eye on for one of my Sims in my Let's Play, current existing Let's Play. And they have new freckles, moles, and body freckles. So to get that, dynamic with the families, they've introduced something called Family Dynamics, and you can set it in Create a Sim when you create them. When you first install the pack, it seemed like you were going to get it popped up, so you can do it then, or you can not set it and let it be discovered through gameplay. And even if you do set it, the way they interact with each other can also change it through gameplay. And there were a bunch of different ones that you could have, distant, close, jokester, strict, difficult, supportive. Those were different things, and it would change how they're going to be able to interact with each other. But you can remove it through a dynamic remover potion if you want to, and that dynamic will remain when they move out. So another big change that they did was with the likes and dislikes, which after the March 14th game update, we will have 50 to choose from versus the 20 that are currently there. So there are two new categories, which are the two main pillars of the new social compatibility function, and they will affect whether you're going to be socially compatible with another sim or not. So the first one was sim characteristics, and it was platonic and available for child sims and up, though there were a few that were specific for older sims. And you would say whether you like that characteristic or you don't like that characteristic, i.e. a like and dislike, but the characteristics of the other sims will fit into those categories, and everything is sort of tied into that, including characteristics from other packs, including characteristics you can get from earning aspiration points. I'm not really sure how that's going to work with someone like a super sim who has huge amount of characteristics. I'm curious. I can see that being a problem. But that aside, an example that they showed was like a cerebral sim. If you like that, then you would get bonus points if the other sim was either a genius, a geek, or a bookworm. But if they were creative or a goofball, it would lose points in that sort of where they add up all the points to find out whether you're socially compatible. And then the conversation topics essentially are things that you're going to talk to other sims about, whether they like or dislike those types of things. And that also factors into the whole social menu reorg, where these conversation topics are essentially the subcategories. So there would be a few things that wouldn't be in any category, so that they would never be liked or disliked depending on what they were. They just wanted to keep them out. So there'll be a learning curve when you're doing that social menu, because you'll have to learn where they are. But it did actually like the topics did seem to tie into what you think they would be. So I do think it won't be that hard to learn. And with respect to the social compatibility, once you figured it out with the game adding all of that up, you can have either good or amazing compatibility. And in that case, on the social menu, you'll see the sim, and they would have two puzzle pieces that fit together, and it's easier to make friends with them. You could have bad or awful compatibility. In that case, the puzzle pieces won't fit together, and it would be harder to make friends. And you could also have no compatibility, so there would be no puzzle pieces on the sim. And obviously, since toddlers and younger can't have it, you're never going to have compatibility with, toddlers or younger. They did make a base game change, or they will be making a base game change to how you make friends. That'll obviously be in the March 14th update. So, and that was sort of across different ages. So a child sim would have an easier time making friends with another child sim, but harder making friends with teens. And they're adding a different multiplier. And they said it would be noticeable, but not impossible to play with. Now, for the world of San Sequoia, of course, that was based on San Francisco. There are no sequoia trees, but there is Old Stumpy in the one neighborhood, Hopewell Hills. And there is a tweet that showed the lot sizes. And the biggest lot is 64 by 64, but that is the rec center. There were a couple of 50 by 40 lots, but they're also already have lots on it. The biggest empty lot was 40 by 20. So if you want a big lot, you're going to have to get rid of sims that are already on the lot. I will show that on the screen. So I do have more details on my blog post about what they shared about the different neighborhoods, which I'm not going to go into here. So the other big thing is that they're adding milestones, which are kind of like memories, but they seem a little bit different, more detailed, I'd have to say. And for infants themselves, their milestones are quite different because their milestones will impact what they can do. So when they roll over, they can do another thing. And when they can sit up, they can start to taste food. When they meet the grab milestone, then they can actually have finger food. Just some examples that were given. So the milestones for infants kind of seem to replace skill building for them. And you can, as we already know from the other video, you are able to control the infants. But obviously they can't do very much because they're infants, though they can do more as they unlock those milestones. But everybody has milestones, but the milestones for the other ages seem more like memories, and some are specific to certain ages. So like a child, could have a milestone of losing a tooth, or learning how to ride a bike, which they have to learn how to ride a bike, so they can't actually just ride them without learning them. And, an adult might have a milestone for first woohoo, or, getting a job, getting married, getting fired, having a fire. So they can be good or bad, and they will remember where they actually happened. So if you have a bad thing happen on your home lot, they may randomly get memories and not do very well while they're having that sort of moodlet about it. So not so good when you have the negative ones. But so very interesting. And also, if you've played a sim through their life, they did show that you could go and look at the milestone tab and see the milestones from previous stages, so they can go back and look at what they have done throughout the ages. So there were new things for different life stages. I have a lot of detail again on my blog post, but one cute thing for newborns is they actually have some new outfits for them. You can change their outfit. They can kiss the infants, or I shouldn't say infant, the newborn is what they're calling the current babies, head for head, and they will actually have temperaments. Some might be needier and some might be easier to care for. So I wasn't expecting anything. We're getting something in base game and then something in this pack for the quote-unquote newborns, which are our current babies. So for infants and toddlers, they'd already mentioned this, but they can get quirks, and they can have up to 18 possibilities, but you discover them through gameplay. But if you don't like the quirks that they get, or you have something in mind that you want them to have, you can use an expansion pack sheet to remove the quirks or to add the quirks, or do both. So, and they gave a few examples, and one cute one was like loves being held. Well, not so cute. It'd be hard because when you put them down, they might get really upset about being put down. And that's what happened there. And of course, the toddlers have their own set of quirks, and the same thing would be true. They didn't show it, they only showed it on the infant, but obviously you can do the same with respect to removing or adding quirks for them. And they showed aggressive, loves water, or a couple that they showed. Now, the pack is coming with changing tables for the infants and toddlers. So if a toddler isn't potty trained, you can change their diaper on there. Or if a toddler just happens to use their diaper, even if they are potty trained, you can still do that. And there is one for community lots. And that whole baby proofing they talked about, toddlers can try and break loose, which was quite cute. So for children, they have actually added quite a lot. There's the 4 new child aspirations, which we already knew about. And they have more interactions with all the different life stages. They can have low, neutral, or high confidence. And if they age up with high or low, they will get a high or low esteem trait. And there's also going to be a change to base game child skill building. So once they start learning, like say they play a piano like they showed, they actually start learning the piano skill immediately. They don't have to have max the creativity skill, but they will learn it at a slower pace than an adult would. And the child creativity, or child fundamentals as they call them, they learn them more quickly. Now, the only thing I had a concern about that particular one is, with me, my child sims always pretty much max the what they're calling fundamentals, the child skills. And so then they go on and they learn the adult skills that they're able to learn. This is not obviously for all adult skills. They won't be able to learn them all, but the ones that they thought were appropriate for children to learn, those particular ones. So I'm curious, when you max your fundamentals with the child, if they will then learn the skills at the regular pace, or if it'll always be slow. I'm hoping it's not the latter. For me, that would not be good. But for a lot of people who don't max the underlying child skills, then you probably great that they can learn some of the adult skills as children. Of course, they also showed the losing the tooth and the tooth fairy coming, the fact that that will be a milestone and you get a certificate. Some milestones actually give you certificates, which I didn't mention. So for adults, where they were talking about wanting to add drama, they definitely did. Adults can now have a midlife crisis. There were 4 different ones. They showed one. You can have a week to work through it. They didn't say, but you'll get benefits to completing them. But if you don't complete them, well, it's fine. They're also going to have work rivals. So you can either sabotage when you're at work, or you can try to make friends, or you can try and make friends outside of work, but you will not be able to get a promotion as long as you have a work rival. And then they also added a burnout system. So if you're going too hard on a skill or working too hard, your sim will indicate they need a break, and they need to do something different. And they added the opportunity to get laid off. So I did wonder that, because it did look like they were sort of focusing on the being fired. So in this case, the company may be going through restructuring. So you can have the sim try to work harder and then possibly avoid getting laid off. That's what they said. And of course, they've added some things for elders. They have more social interactions, some cute things. Aren't you the sweetest little thing? They can sneak a treat and whatnot. And they can also teach life lessons. And if you have parenthood, some of these will teach character values. And then, of course, they have the memory box. They can designate one memory box, and then once they've done that, they can put things in it, and then they can also pass it down to someone else. But it did seem like that was only for elders. And I don't play with the elders very much, so that's not really going to be that useful for me. And then they can ponder the meaning of family on the memory box, and it is supposed to have some impact, but they didn't show that. So another really fun thing that I'm quite excited for is you can now have a higher number of traits. So we currently have 3 on adults. They've added a self-discovery system so that through what they're doing, they may get the prompt to add a trait. So if someone gets a promotion, they might get the prompt, is this sim ambitious? Or if you have a slob sim and they're doing a lot of cleaning, they might go, well, maybe they're not really a slob. Maybe they should be neat. So you could change your trait through a pop-up in-game, or you might get a new trait. But you can say no to whatever they're prompting, so you don't have to accept it. But you could have up to 6 traits as opposed to the 3 that you can assign and create a sim. And they also showed the temporary stays, which you can either get a pop-up opportunity, which they showed the Kyle is a new NPC that can come, and there were other possibilities. Or you can initiate it by asking someone over, say you just had a baby and you want some help, you might ask a family member to come stay and help out. And you can ask them to help out. And they come with the suitcase, which essentially is just a portable dresser, which you can also buy in build mode, which looks quite fun. looked quite useful, I should say, to bring along with you, because you have all the options that you get on a dresser on the suitcase. So of course they showed the tree house in quite a lot of detail. It was partially built and they continued building it, and you can upgrade it and add new things. And of course it was a woohoo spot in the enclosure, but one thing about that is there was a child playing on it. That option wasn't there. So it's obviously only an option when there's no children around. And there you can decorate it different ways by just saying, you know, it's a fairy tale castle, an island castaway, space explorer, or pirate hideout. And it looked like it was quite fun, and you can even place things on it, and they're usable when they are placed on it. And there's a way you can just search for placeable on treehouse when you're in build mode, and you will find the things that you can put on it. There's also a friendship bracelet that you can make and share, and it will eventually, you know, disintegrate, wear out, and fall off. But and there's an interaction if you have it, but you can also be mean and demand it back, and then they'll have a hurt sentiment. So, and of course there was the game table, which they showed in the trailer. So the new option is you can have puzzles or symbols, and the puzzles quite fun. You can do a custom puzzle from reference, which is like a paint by reference, and then you can do the puzzle, and then once it's done you can frame it and put it on the wall. And of course you can steal a piece. Once the puzzle's done, they can put it back in and steal the finish for doing the puzzle. So, and of course the last thing they didn't really show, but there are going to be 3 new social events. So you have the baby shower, which you don't even need a pregnant sim, so you can do the story of adopting, and possibly the new science baby too. And there's rewards for all of them. So the other one was family reunion, so it could be also extended family, and the slumber party was the third one. And they all have fun rewards that you can get from completing them, you know, probably at any level, but, you know, gold level obviously is probably going to give you the best rewards. But so what do I think? I actually thought it looked pretty good. I'm not really one for drama in my game, but I will explore it anyways and see how it goes and what I think about it. But it still definitely seems like they put a lot of thought into it, and honestly it didn't actually seem that glitchy from what they were showing during the trailer. I still think mods and CC are gonna break but it actually seemed like it was pretty smooth, and it worked pretty well. And I think it will, you know, add a lot to family play, which I do play that way a lot, so I'm quite excited to have it added to my game. So I'm curious what you think about it. I'd love to know in a comment down below, but that's going to be it for this video. Likes and comments are always appreciated, and they really help with the algorithms. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!